We also have co-writer Katie McNeese. Actually, let you set that side. We have stars Clara Hart, Dean Quinn, and Amy Joyce Hastings. That's about as much as COVID will safely allow. If people don't want to, if we can spread out, yeah. I know there are other cast here as well. If you want to shame them into like standing up and taking a bow, that would be a nice.
Yeah, everyone just stand up and say hello. Paul, Aisling, Orla's here. Everyone stand up. Who else is here? I can't even see them.
Yeah, apologies. COVID safety means we can only fit so many people safely together, but we will truck on. We also have 2 roaming mics amongst the audience, so if you have a question, please just raise your hands, and we'll pass it on to our cast and crew. Don't be shy. But I'll kick off with one of my own. I just wanted to ask, it's been well documented at this stage, Graham, that this all started with the short Lily a few years back.
Yeah, it was, like Lily was, it was a good while ago now. We did a short film called Lily. It started off as a very small project. It was an exercise to show students in the film-based master's course how the world of film worked, to give them an opportunity to work with professional HODs. And Alan Fitzpatrick, who's in the audience over there, the MD of Film-Base, he basically allowed me to make the film with the students as the crew. And it started as the tiny little kernel of something. And it was just a story I wanted to tell about bullying and, a message that I wanted to send out into the world. And when we made it, it just snowballed. It premiered at the Galway Film Fleadh, and it won the award for Best Short at the Galway Film Fleadh. And from there, it just took off, and it went around the world. And so many people encouraged us to do something with it, to make a feature film out of it. And I resisted at the start because I thought the short film kind of worked in and of itself, and then we found a way to make it work longer form, the story that mostly you see up there. And then I realized the short film reached so many kids, and we got such a big response after screening it at festivals and stuff from kids coming up saying it had moved them or it had said something to them. And I thought, well, if we have a feature film, how many more kids can we reach out to with it, or parents, or so that was the idea really behind doing it, behind turning it into a feature film. And yeah, we started chipping away at it, myself and Alan at the start, and Amy Joyce was involved as well, and then we brought Katie on board.
And here it is. Reactions, anyone, to seeing it on the big screen with an audience for the first time?
I mean, it's always incredible to sit with an audience, and you kind of get a feel for how a film is working or not when you sit in an audience, much more so than when you're just looking at it and analysing it yourself. You can kind of feel the audience reacting. It's harder with the headphones, but I kept lifting one ear, just to hear how people were reacting. But it's nerve-wracking and it's emotional. It's incredibly moving, and I'm so grateful. That's what I feel at the moment, yeah.
No, it's all down to your hard work. Fair play to all of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's ask Lily herself, Clara, what it was like returning to a character again. It's not something every actor gets to do.
Yeah, well, oh, that was really loud. I guess the first time around, it was a really fast process. It came to me within 2 weeks. Whereas this one was 3 years of kind of chipping away. I think once I heard that the feature was being made, it was I didn't know, and then we had a couple of months nearly to delve further into the character and further into what the story was and what the story meant to all of us. So that aspect of the process was really great, to be so deeply involved in kind of the formulation of the script and the story and all our experiences coming into it. And yeah, and then just like being prepared to go into it, like knowing that it was going to be a deeper emotional journey, a longer kind of exposition of Lily, like herself. It was just all a deeper process, and also having everyone around us that was like now our clan, our people, that like, our tribe. I guess we knew each other so deeply that the friendships were there already. It didn't have to be like just kind of like turn it on to go on screen. It was like, no, we are friends. This is like intrinsic to us now. So that aspect wasn't acting. But yeah, it was great.
Nice. Do you find that as well, Dean? It was like returning to your tribe?
Yeah, I think really Clara really hit on the head there. Yeah, it was amazing to get back at it again and find out more about what the characters went through, what happens next to them from the short film up into in the feature film, and expanding on their journeys. And yeah, like doing like my first project with so many amazing people who are my tribe, I suppose now at this stage, was just so special. Yeah, I loved it.
Fair play. Katie, yeah. Katie, tell us about co-writing. No two writers do it the same way. What was yourself and Graham's process?
It's kind of strange in the sense that like this is my first feature project, and I checked my first messages as like when Graham first texted me about this, 18th of December 2018. And I was a baby, now I'm 30, so it's all downhill from here. But it's it's funny in the sense, and like I always say this, like when I first heard from Graham about this film, I'd interviewed him several times as a journalist in IFTN about Lily. And I thought, that's great, they're making gay films now, that's fab. And I actually asked him in the interview, would you ever think of making a feature? He's like, no, I don't know. And so a couple of years later, he asks me about it, and he asked me for writing samples and everything. And I thought, like, I haven't even directed my first short yet. Like, what's this clown doing? And gave him the samples, and like, he was so completely open to hearing what my point of view was. Like, I'm gay, I'm very openly gay. I've lived a lot of the experiences that you saw. Graham's lived a lot. Like, it's not just about being gay. I think that's what makes the film so nuanced. It's about bullying and learning who you are and standing up to someone and standing in front of someone else going, no, you do not do that. You don't get away with it. And there's so much of Graham in the film. I'm so proud of him, by the way. Well done. So I spoke... Quiet, I'm trying to answer a question. And so when it came to writing it, I suppose like what I loved about it was the very first time he sent me the final draft script, because he's based in Galway, I'm based in Dublin, and one of the first things he did, and it was such a welcoming, kind thing to do, which is just so Graham, is he put a note in the final draft script on the title page, and he says, the first thing you need to do is put your name on this, and I can't wait to see where you take our girl. And it was such... He was welcoming me into the tribe, and I it's only in retrospect that I realise that now. And so, like we worked on, I did an entire read through the whole thing. I said, I don't like this, I don't like that, this is fab. Simon's absolutely gas, he's hilarious. And then we workshopped on specific scenes, and it was very much like about being open and direct and honest and completely kind to each other while not holding back at all. And there's so much of him in the script, there's so much of myself in the script, and I think the most important thing is actually, at this stage, the first screening, it's not us, it's the people who get to see it. And if one person, like I don't usually wear sunglasses, but I'm crying, right? So if I can, and if Graham and I can know that like one person who's watched the film feels the way that I do right now, I wish that I saw this when I was 17, and I wish I saw it when I was 20, I wish I saw it when I was 25. I'm 30, and now I'm crying at it, even though I wrote the fucking thing. It's a very powerful film, well done, Graham.
Yeah, Amy Joyce, please tell us about Una and her sassy one-liners, which I like.
I think I'll leave it to Una's sassy one-liners to speak for themselves. No, I just, like Clara said, reprising a role and going so much deeper is great, and I sort of feel, I love what Una represents as a 30-something grown-up lesbian. It is a coming-out story and a coming-of-age story, but I love that sort of subplot with her and Celine and the baby, because I think it's really relevant and contemporary. Would you agree? Like, for the kind of modern-day lifestyle of like a grown-up lesbian couple. So I just was really happy to explore that. So it was a privilege.
Nicely done. I want to give the audience a chance to get some questions in. Just shoot your hands up, and someone will run to you. Don't be shy. You're with your tribe. Right here. We have two, actually. I'm going to write out first. There we go. I'll hold on to it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Do not touch the mic. Okay. So my question is for Amy Joyce. I think I wanted to know the story behind your hair in the film. I mean, your acting is incredible. That is amazing. But your hair was such an amazing part of the film and such a striking look. What was that process like? I mean, did it stay in? Did the hair dye?
Yeah, well, the hair dye stayed in. The hair got chopped, but it was a worthwhile sacrifice, I think. I had really long hair, and we dyed it blue for about 5, 6, 7 weeks, actually. So it wouldn't come out, so I just chopped it off. I was having a baby anyway, so it was kind of handy short. So yeah, all's well that ends well. Thank you.
We have another right here.
Thank you. Well done on the film, guys. Absolutely loved it. You should all be incredibly proud. I just have a question for Graham and Katie. Adapting something from a short into a feature can be kind of tricky, but you added in a lot of like subplots and expanded the characters brilliantly, you must say. But was there anything else you would have liked to have put in that you didn't, or how did you feel about the whole process of expanding on the world you created in Lily?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of different things that we wanted to explore, you know, and that was one of the processes that we had, was refining it down to what's relevant or what's necessary at this moment in time, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is move people, and which parts of our story or which parts of our characters did we think, myself and Katie, would do that, would move people and would, you know, reach people. And yeah, it was I will say, the way Katie said it, we had a very frank conversation with each other constantly throughout, you know, and Katie doesn't hold back. She really doesn't. And like, I had some sequences in. I remember one sequence in particular. I had Lily being attacked by a straight guy in a kind of an aggressive, almost sexual way. And Katie said to me, "No, that's too big. It's too big of a thing to put into this film as an afterthought. That's a thing in and of itself." You know what I mean? So it was really, that was one of the great things about having Katie on board. And, you know, I just wanted to say as well about Katie, initially, we were at the Iris Prize Festival in Wales, and I spoke to the guy who runs Outfest in LA, and I said, "Do you have any advice for me about adapting a short film into a feature film?" And he gave me a few tips, and he said, "But most importantly, get a lesbian." He said, find a lesbian writer, because on one hand, you need authenticity. You know, you need to run it by that authentic. On the other hand, you'll be murdered. If you're the only writer on it, they'll kill you. And I said, okay. And I went looking, and I took a long time looking, and I looked at a lot of different writers. And it was Niall Murphy. Is Niall here? Is Niall here somewhere? I don't know where he is. Where? Where's Niall? Oh, there he is at the back, hiding. Niall actually introduced me to Katie. Not introduced me, but he said, "What about Katie?" And I got in touch with Katie, and she sent me the writing. And there was just something in her writing that I just connected with. It was Lambing was really the short, the one that won the IMDb award. Before all of that I read, and I thought, she's got something to say. And she came on board, and initially it was kind of as a consultant almost, just, is this authentic? But very quickly it turned into much, much more than that. And it became a real collaboration, a true collaboration, and we tested each other. And that was the thing. That's one of the things I think when you're taking something small and making it bigger, you need that type of interaction. You need that type of back and forth. You got to test yourself against someone who's on a level with you. And that's, I think, what we did, isn't it, Katie? And that really helped us to make it this bigger thing. Would you agree with that?
I do completely, but like again, and I think this could apply to any film, is there is no point making a film if you're not making them with good people. There are plenty of people who would have looked at me, 5'2" and a bit, can I just say, right, 5'2" and a bit. No credits just yet, fair few screenwriting awards, hadn't directed anything yet, too shy not to look at the ground at an event, hadn't proven yourself, hadn't found your pride and go, here is my baby, I mean, how many more people would have done that? Like Graham did it. I don't know how many more people would have. And it honestly changed my life. That faith, the trust, the willingness to share, the willingness to be told, no, I don't think your idea, I don't think that's going to gel. I don't think it's going to work. But to circle back to Gar's question as to was there stuff in there was there more we wanted to put in? Fuck yeah, sorry. But like, I think it's actually a testament to the fact that LGBT cinema is not something that needs to be tolerated or put in a corner or be like, oh, here we have a little pink tag on that and you can go to see it or whatever. The fantastic thing about this film is there is so much more you could do with it. There are so many lives and people and storylines. I mean, who wouldn't want more of Simon? Hello. Like, hilarious. Absolutely. It's just us two today, sir. Jesus is Dawson. I mean, gas. So I think the very fact, and like the assault story, I mean, where does Me Too come into this? Where does trans come into this? I mean, I'm always rambling on about different aspects. We skimmed the surface in a way that I'm so completely proud of, but it is the surface. And unless people respond well to this, unless people actually see, like, it's not just good enough to be gay and support gay people, we need allies. And we need to support our allies. And, it has to kind of go from there. It's not good enough to just say, sure, but the vote went in, right? I've known Ocean to get married. I'm too young for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm delighted. But at the same time, it's like the sea change is just starting. And I think the fact is that it's happened so quickly. And like, as you said, the love that dare not speak its name to love won't shut the fuck up, right? I love that line. At the same time, it's like, don't shut up. There is so much more left to do, and I think that's the last thing I'd say, because I'll keep talking if you let me.
We'll take another question. Put your hand up. Yeah, over here.
Hiya. So, yeah, I'm same as Katie. I'm like trying to dry my eyes and not ruin my makeup. But well done, guys. And this question is for Clara, though. I was curious. So Lily she has so many ups and downs, and like all of the different, emotions across the gambit and it's so reflective of not only the teenage experience but it puts the audience on this journey with you. What was the toughest day, though, like emotionally, to get there as her, and how did you get inside her head?
Not that it's a blur, but I mean, there was a lot of tough days. And I remember, I think the middle week, like we had a really quick shoot. It was 3.5 weeks. And then we went back for pickups. But the middle week, I remember going in, I was even watching some of the scenes there being like, oh, I was so fresh. I was so ready for those days. And even though they were we started off quite emotional and quite like at the end nearly. But I think it was generally the middle week, and a lot of the school stuff for me was really important to get right, because a lot of the school stuff had been in the short, and it was just kind of doing that again and getting back into that space. But I know from the short that it was quite grueling on me, so it was almost like protecting myself and also giving myself fully to it. So I think it was getting tired around that middle week, and then ramping up enough and using the tiredness, nearly the emotional rawness of the first week to channel into what was happening that week. So I think I can't specifically say one day, can I? And then now I'm just watching, what? Oh, the fight. Well, the fight is always. I think I just glazed over the fight as being something that didn't happen. Almost like what Lily would do is just compartmentalize it as okay, that was a trauma that existed, but I came out of it very easily afterwards. And plus, it was also really choreographed, and the people around me doing it were like Venetia, Hallie, everyone. I felt really safe in their hands because it was so choreographed and thought through beforehand. But also, you have to go there, and yeah, that day, I suppose that week in general was pretty tough. Yeah.
Another question? See your hand up. Yeah, back here.
Hi. Yeah. There were some really powerful, emotive scenes in there. The one that stood out for me was in the dressing room when Violet was getting extra violent. And I was just wondering, maybe for yourself, Simon, with the character that you're playing, and a very, very funny character, but there's also you've given him so much depth. What scene did you find was the I suppose, the most difficult for you to shoot? Was there a part that you were like, wow, this is really tough for me now?
Yeah, I suppose the stuff that we hadn't seen before with Simon in the short film was his relationship with his dad, with Fran in the movie. That was new for me to explore, and it was something that I was really, I really hoped to get right, because you see a lot of father-son relationships in the LGBT community, and father-daughter relationships as well, being very wishy-washy, to say a little, wishy-washy. So yeah, for me it was very important that I got that. So it was quite tough for me with that sense of Simon and his relationship with his dad. Yeah. Yeah, the hospital scene. Yeah, that was particularly very interesting film. But again, I felt so safe with everyone who was around. Yeah, it was great. That one would be the toughest, yeah.
I remember sitting outside, and I was in the foyer of the hospital that day, and I wasn't shooting, I was just waiting for the next scene, and everyone came out being like, all the casting crew being like, don't go in there, they're all messes. It was, that's a special scene.
I feel like we need a question from this side before we wrap up. I'm just going to put you guys in the spotlight. No? Fair enough. We do have to wrap up. I just want, by way of wrapping up, one final question of my own. The thing I liked most about the film, one of the things I liked most about the film, that ending, because it sort of goes back to the original spirit of Pride. Again, not to make it all about the LGBT aspects like Katie was saying, but there's like a Disney version of this film where, Lily just rises above it all and lives her best life and forgets about the haters. But no, she took a Stanley knife into that classroom, and I loved that. And I'm just wondering what you guys thought. Was that in there from the beginning? Was there a push for any particular cast member to include that scene?
That scene is in the short, actually, and it's not verbatim, but it's very, very close. And it's something that an awful lot of thought was given to. Like, we've talked about this as a group, or as a tribe, we should keep saying, as a tribe. And, by no means is that the correct way to handle things. It's not that, you should all go off and buy Stanley knives after the screening, and, if anyone says anything to you. But I suppose, I have said myself recently, I think there's something very, very meta and very powerful about her saying, look at what you did. And you're all looking at a film. Like, if I thought when I was Lily's age that I'd be standing on stage with a Pride badge on my boob, feeling very proud, I mean, it just wouldn't happen. And there's something about looking, and there's something about seeing and feeling seen that is completely and utterly powerful, because there's, bullying shouldn't just be survived. Bullying should be stood up to. And it doesn't necessarily make a difference whether it's down to her being gay, down to her being, wearing the wrong thing, or, being from the wrong housing estate in the wrong part of the country. No one can speak to Lily like that. And Lily takes ownership of that and says, no, look at what you did. And what I love about that scene is how speechless Violet is. And then I find in the closing montage, which I love, I feel really sorry for her as well, because there are so many people like that who have so many hurdles to go. And for me, it's like on a personal, and it's not all about me, obviously, but it's like there's such crossover with my own lived experiences. It's kind of inevitable to try and lend like what Lily's perspective might be. At the same time, knowing that you can stand up for yourself is such a powerful, treacherous thought in the back of your head, even if you're not ready to do it quite yet. I left school never standing up for myself and felt awful about it. And I have a twin sister who kept quiet. No offence, Cora, if ever you hear this back, Jesus. But she was in a gay bar, as she does, very, very flouncy woman, my sister, right? And she's in a gay bar in Cork a couple of years ago, and she sees a guy who bullied the life out of me in school, and he's got a pink tank top on, and by God, he's dropping on a pole, right? And she walks up to him, and she looked at him, and she went, look at you now, right? And look at you now. And she kept saying, look, look, look. And eventually he said, I'm sorry, I know, right? And now I'm not saying that guy should be ashamed of himself, because absolutely not. Good for you, Chris, wherever you might be right now. At the same time, he should be ashamed of what he did, and fair play to my sister. And people like Lily, fair play to people like Lily, people like Simon and Oon, and all the people who are replicated by the actors and the director on the stage as well, who have stood up to that kind of thing, because it's not easy to do. But once you start doing it, you think, fucking hell, sorry for swearing, I can do anything. Could I say one thing about
I just want to give a shout out to Amy Hughes, who plays AJ, and just to say, I think the ending with Lily and the Stanley knife is lovely because it's almost like a fork in the road where she could have been AJ. She could have gone down that road, but she does choose the high road, but it's touch and go. And I just think there's a lovely fork in the road there, and we see kind of that. If you go down the slightly darker path of violence, you know, you could be bitter and unhappy, and I love that. It's a feel-good ending, but that's represented by AJ, and I just wanted to give Amy Hughes a big shout-out.
Let's keep that applause going for the whole cast and crew of Who We Love. Thanks again. Congratulations again on a wonderful film. That's all we have time for. Thanks very much.